we know that the individual can tolerate that amount of carbohydrates because they're already insulin sensitive, they're already losing body fat, we would jump that up by about 100% of the low day carbohydrates. So that would bring us up to 300 grams of carbohydrate. Hey everybody, what's going on? Coach William Grazione here, owner of The Educated Dieter, bringing you guys back some more Hey Coach videos. It's been a while, I missed you. We went ahead and started the Hey Coach Radio podcast just for you guys. We hope you're enjoying it. Question we're coming back with is refeed days. Done wrong or done right? Your choice, but I'm going to shed some light on you. We're going to give you guys a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of wisdom in regards to setting your diet up and how you should be strategically mapping out your refeeds and how much you should be refeeding on specific days. So sit down, grab a pen, let's take some notes. Hope to shed a little bit of light on maybe how many carbohydrates you could likely get away with, because what we are trying to do in its most simplest form here is we are trying to fill the energy gap that you have created to create the calorie deficit that will allow your client to oxidize body fat. Okay. Now, if you are somebody watching this and you want to be able to carbohydrate cycle properly, this video is going to help you reach your goals as well. So let's go ahead and dive on into this thing. Example number one, we have the individual that is programming in very small refeed days. So we're talking 30, 40, 50 grams of carbohydrates on a refeed day, taking total carbohydrates from maybe 150 grams, maybe up 40 grams to 190 grams, unless the individual is in a very small calorie deficit, or the coach that's programming this is scared to give more. That would be the only reason of how this would make any sense to me. Because logically looking at it, it doesn't make any sense. If you were only put somebody in a 150, 200 calorie deficit, chances are they'd be oxidizing body fat or losing body weight at such a slow pace, I don't even know if they'd ever achieve anything. Plus, that energy gap, it's gonna eventually close. Now, most evidence-based nutrition coaches understand that in order to really get somebody insulin sensitive and to be able to oxidize body fat, take them into a deficit, all that stuff that helps improve body composition, right? We need to be able to create a big enough deficit so that it creates a gap so that the metabolism is basically forced to adapt, okay? And the way that it does that is it just continues to burn through stored glucose, okay, until it eventually gets to the body fat and so on. Now, in many cases, that deficit is going to be anywhere from 400, 500, 600 in some cases, sometimes even more, depending on if we're working with maybe a very metabolically flexible, smaller female, or if we're working with a very large muscular male. It just depends. But in any case, we need to fill the energy gap here, and that is essentially done by filling up the water cup, okay? If you know that when I cut calories, leptin concentrations are going to drop dramatically, even within the first couple of weeks, and that's a normal response, we need to fill the cup, okay? If I only put a quarter cup of water in there, is it full? No, it's a quarter full. But if I fill the cup all the way back up because I have filled this energy gap space, now is the cup full? Yes, the cup is full now. We have enough glucose coming in to be able to potentially help to stimulate leptin, which can then serve to benefit us because of all the metabolic processes that leptin concentrations help us with. Second thing is you need to be able to stimulate serotonin in some form or fashion. Serotonin is very calming, specifically, within male and female physiology, because whenever you have high carbohydrate days, don't you feel a bit more, a little bit more relaxed, right? So we want to think about that. Now, I'm also not a really big advocate of single day refeeds unless the individual has a fair amount of body fat to lose, and refeed days, they don't necessarily need them. A, number one, because they're able to adhere to their program, but B, number two, they just have the adiposity that they could potentially lose before you need to really worry about trying to mitigate side effects. Okay, you can burn a lot of body fat without carb cycling, right? You just have to make sure that the individual that you're working with can adhere to the program. Now, example number two, which to me makes a lot more sense predominantly because the gap that you created, you the coach or you the dieter, you're filling that with glucose. Right? It makes sense. You're filling the cup back up. Now, how we typically do this is we would add 75% of your low day carbohydrates into the diet. So if you took 75%, 150, that would bring us up to 262.5 grams of carbohydrate on your higher carbohydrate days, and that would fill the energy gap, okay? Now, if We did 100%, which is typically more common around what we do, as long as we know that the individual can tolerate that amount of carbohydrates because they're already insulin sensitive, they're already losing body fat. We would jump that up by about 100% of the low day carbohydrates. So that would bring us up to 300 grams of carbohydrate. So just so you guys are aware how many grams of carbohydrates your body can likely metabolize, it's much more than 30, 40, 50 grams, and you can likely go ahead and throw 100% in there and you'll probably respond to it really well. So you guys know Coach Will loves to feed individuals however much I can. Obviously if there's a functional problem, we have to be able to address that as well. But hopefully you guys got something out of this video, so don't be scared of the carbohydrates. If you are in a deficit and you are losing body fat, it is okay to have a quote unquote abnormally high refeed day, even if you may be somewhat intimidated about carbohydrate, because keep in mind that adding more wood to your metabolic fire is just going to help you keep burning for a longer period of time. I appreciate you guys. God bless all of you, and we will see you in the next Hey Coach video.